Hey everybody, we're just going to be on for a few minutes for people to get on. Look who's with me! It's Bee! Once you get on, let us know where you're at in the U.S. in the comments below.
One day, and Laura Wainwright was international staff 2 years ago. Came across to Texas, and she got from
Good to see you guys. Hi, Alicia. Hi, guys.
a lot of kids also had nice students. So my sister, my daughter, was telling me she's having some place in Christmas.
Sure.
Okay, we're going to get started in 1 minute. Hi, Renee.
They're like, don't you wish you had learned all the stuff your parents knew about sewing and baking and cleaning?
Yeah.
Now we're all learning.
Hi, Cassie Joe. Let us know where you're watching from. Good morning, Girl Scouts, friends, and families. My name is Kat, and I'm the program specialist in North Platte for Lakeview Cabin. I hope you are all staying healthy and safe out there. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning for our live horse lessons with Dusty at Dusty Trails. Let us know where you're from in the comments. All of the information today will help juniors earn their horseback riding badge. So without further ado, let's see what Dusty has planned for us today, and let's see who our special guest is today. There's Bee!
Hi, everybody!
Hello. We have a beautiful sunny day today. It's great to be out here. Welcome to Dusty Trails, and we do have Bee Webster here with us. So that's awesome. We're Bee. Introduced by Bee.
Yeah, you can call me whatever.
Oh. So anyway, we're going to go meet some horses again today, like we always do. We have some other helpers over here that you'll get to meet when they come around the building. But we're going to meet a horse, get a horse out, and I think we're going to start out by talking about teeth today. So we picked up some feet, trimmed some feet last week, saddled a horse the week before that. Anyway, we're going to work on teeth today, and we'll talk about the bit and how that correlates with the teeth a little bit, okay? So come on in, let's go meet the horses.
Hi, Abby from Pennsylvania. We have a Brownie from Bellevue, Angel from York, Jana, Jessica, and Natalie from Omaha. Thanks for coming today.
And then maybe let's grab there you are. All right. So we're going to take a look at an old horse's teeth to start with. This is the oldest horse I have. I'm going to bring her back there, Kat. So this is Josie. She will be 24 years old next month. I've had her since she was just a little baby. Should we turn into the sun? Maybe we can see a little better. There we go. All right. So Josie here, we'll ask her to smile and show us her teeth. She hasn't brushed her teeth in a while, looks like. So, you know the old saying about getting long in the tooth? I don't know how many of you heard that. That used to be a really popular saying about getting long in the tooth. And that's where this comes from, is horses' teeth. They get real long in the tooth. Check out how long these teeth are. And when they get old, they get really long, and their gum lines start receding back up in here farther, and their teeth really stick out long. So, this is Josie, and she's really got good teeth. If you look from the side here, you see how they come together. They are sticking out some. The farther out they stick like that, if they start sticking out real far, they start calling that a parrot mouth. Now she's not really a parrot mouth, she's just older, so her teeth are growing longer and they start to bow out like that some. But the length of those teeth and the lines down the center of the tooth here, these grooves, start showing the horse's age. Now when a horse gets to be many years old like this, it's really hard to give an exact number on how old that horse is. I mean, it gets hard to even guess within 5 or 10 years really. But when the horses are younger, we'll show you some younger horses' teeth. We can tell pretty precise how old that horse is. All right, so we're going to put Josie away real quick. All right, we have Sis here next, and we can look at their teeth. They're not turned into the light very well. Try that again. All right, we can look at their teeth and we can tell how old they are. And right off the bat, I pull that lip back and I see this notch right here in this tooth right there. See that? That tooth comes down and then notches. And you can see what creates that is where that bottom tooth wears into there and leaves this little bit of a notch down. We call that the 7-11 notch. They'll get that when they're 7 years old and then again when they're 11. And the teeth will change enough that this tooth will come back here and start wearing on the back of this. This tooth right here doesn't cover the back side of that now, but it will, and then that'll wear that off. So while they're 8, 9, and 10, that tooth will be straight across there, and then the teeth change enough that it creates that gap again where it'll wear and leave you that notch when they're 11. And at that point, and look how much difference it is in length. And that tooth isn't even half as long as what Josie's teeth were. Probably a third. I mean, it's a huge, huge difference. But as his tooth gets longer, and see this point from the gum line that's starting to V and come down, that there will work its way down and end up coming all the way down to the end of the tooth. See, there's no lines down the center of this tooth like what Josie had. There's some different. It's not the defined dark line like what the others had. Okay? So, all the horses, they start out with baby teeth just like we do. They'll lose those teeth and get in their adult teeth. What we look at is this 2 right here in the center. When they get these 2 teeth, they'll be 2-year-olds, and then they'll get these 2. So if you look at a horse and they're missing these and maybe they're just coming in, they're 3. Once these teeth come all the way down in, they're 4-year-olds. Same thing here. They'll lose these and they'll just have short teeth in here. They'll be 5 years old. Once these teeth come all the way in, they're 6 years old. Now you get this notch in the back here, they're 7 years old. 8 years old, that notch is going to go away. After that, it starts to get more, a little bit more of a guessing game, a bit more of a science for somebody that is more educated on teeth than I am, could probably tell you. But even, these are rule of thumb. Generally, this is how it is, but everybody's different. Just like some kids lose all their teeth when they're younger, some don't do it until they're much older. Horses will vary some too. But that just gives you a general guideline. Who do we have here? We have Kimber now. Let's see if we can look at Kimber and decide how old Kimber is. Now here's a young horse, and look at how short her teeth are, even compared to the 7-year-old that we were just looking at, which was Sis, by the way. So she's got that's her set of 2-year-old teeth are in. Here's her 4-year-old teeth are in. These, look how little those are. those are actually still baby teeth right there. Those are nowhere near in yet. So she's just 4 years old. She hasn't lost them. She'll lose those when she's 5, and you might start seeing the 6-year-old teeth start to come in. But right now, Kimber's just 4 years old, okay? You can tell that looking at her teeth. Who do we have? Reba. Reba, have we ever looked at your teeth before? Oh, look at you. You're a sweetheart. She's got little teeth as well. She's got her 2s, her 4s, and her baby teeth over here. So she is a 4-year-old as well. Okay? All right, so that's the front teeth up front here. What we use for their age, and you want to look at their teeth and see that their bite comes down square. You don't want an overlap one way or another, and you don't want them peeked out like this. That's the parent mouth. And you got an underbite and an overbite. Underbite. But you want to have those teeth coming straight down on each other. And then what you look at back here is you have this big gap where there are no teeth. It looks like she only has teeth up front. You can't see any other teeth. The other teeth don't actually start till clear in the back here. I can feel them, my fingers on them right there. And they actually have teeth that run from here all the way back up into here. They have this big row of really wide, thick molars back there. And they actually shed these. They start out with baby teeth back here as well. And they'll shed these, and it looks like just the cap of a tooth coming off, but it's that a baby tooth will come off and the adult tooth will come up in there. Let's see if one of these has a wolf tooth that we can show. Maybe Morgan, one of the older horses, might have a wolf tooth that we can see what it looks like.
Hi, Emily from Texas. Hi, Rebecca from San Diego. And Rhino from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Very cool, very cool. So when we talk about bits, we're going to look at bits and where they rest in their mouth. That's this gap right here between the teeth. And it's not a small gap, it's a big gap. It goes, right here's their front teeth, and the molars don't start from back here. So if I put my finger right here in that horse's mouth, she can bite down. Her mouth can go closed, completely closed. She cannot bite me right there. I'm in no harm of getting bit with my finger in her mouth right there, because her molars are back here. I would not want to stick my finger back here on her molars. Their teeth are incredibly sharp edges on them, and their jaws are very, very strong. So they would just grind my finger up, something terrible. But the horse's teeth are growing at all times. They're bones that they never quit growing. They just keep growing. And so what happens, and where you get your sharp edges, is when these teeth are growing and they're just constantly wearing against each other, where they don't line up and there's nothing to wear them off, those edges continue to grow up. And that's what creates your really sharp edges. So we have to do something on a regular basis, which we call floating their teeth. And that is where you take a rasp, a file, and you slide it up, and you're floating across the top of the teeth. And so you're going across the top of them teeth, so anything that sticks up any higher, you'll take down those edges of those teeth. And their molars don't quite line up perfectly. Your bottom molars are outside a little bit, and so your outside edge of your bottom molars will continue to grow and get the sharp edge, and your inside edge of your top molars will continue to grow, and you'll get that long sharp edge. So we'll come in there and we'll file off and take that edge of those teeth off every year when they get older. Every other year when they get up to about that 6 or 8, typically people want to get them looked at. Once they get up anywhere 12, 15 years old, that's something that probably should be done every year. Everybody can tell you something different on that, and it depends on the horse. A lot of horses are different, and it also depends on if you're dealing with any sort of issues. Just like we have bad teeth, horses will have bad teeth. We can have a horse like Keisha right here. We had to remove one of her molars several years ago. And what that means now is that there's one tooth completely gone, and so when these teeth are wearing against each other, there's nothing wearing on this top tooth, and it continues to grow, so it'll really get long because there's just nothing wearing on it on a daily basis. So her teeth need to be looked at and filed down on a more regular basis than the rest. And we'll take you over and show you Jim or Joe. One of the 2 big draft horses are missing a front tooth, and we'll show you what that looks like, as they haven't been floated yet this year. They're going to be getting in sometime this month to do that. So we'll see what happens when you don't have a tooth to wear against and how long that tooth will get. So. Let's see if Morgan right here.
Hi, Isabella from New Hampshire. Hi, Kirsten.
Morgan's going to be one of them that doesn't like me to touch her mouth, so maybe we'll have to pick somebody different, huh?
Hi, Gabby.
And she doesn't have a wolf tooth anyway. Let's see who has a wolf tooth. I don't know. I've had most of them removed, so we may not find any. Nope. No wolf tooth there. I don't know who would have one.
What about Caitlin?
No wolf tooth there. I think he does. Alright, so this big dude here, this is Jim. Alright, Jim, welcome to the dentist office. You're here for your checkup. So, big guy. Alright, so his teeth are really kind of ugly. See on the bottom down here, he's actually missing a tooth on the bottom. And so these top teeth, they don't have anything to wear against. So they get really long. And the longer they get, they actually start wearing into the bottom, or the side of the other tooth on the bottom there. So we try to keep those filed off real regular just to keep the other teeth that are still there in good shape. Why he's missing one, I don't know. He was that way when I got him. It could be, something happened where he got kicked in the face by another horse or something. It could be that he had some sort of decay or something that was going on and it was bothering him. I've been around horses like that had issues, and they were throwing their head, or they were sensitive to different things, or to the bit, and the dentist would go in and they found a tooth that was bothering them, removed them so that they tried to take care of that issue. But it could be any number of things like that. But he has, right up here, see this big old wolf tooth right there? And it gets really sharp because it continues growing as well. That tooth is right out in the middle of nowhere, and it looks like a wolf's tooth just sticking down there, doesn't it? Really serves no purpose. I don't know, some people say it dates back to, whatever, when they were, meat eaters of some sort or something, I don't know. But anyway, that we typically either file those down. When we float the rest of the teeth, we just file that clear down. You don't take it clear to the gum line or anything, because just like our teeth, there is live tissue inside of there that will make them super sensitive. So you can take off the top a little bit and just round that off to where it's not a sharp edge. Another thing that we do, the front of the molars, where they come together and meet, we actually take and round those edges right there off, so that when the bit is in their mouth and it pulls this cheek back against here, and that horse moves its mouth, there's no sharp edges that'll get in there and get pinched when the horse's cheeks come in. We call that a bit seat. So we'll round off that front edge of those molars. Not everybody does that. Most vets that I've taken horses to for floating teeth, that they really haven't done much of that. But I did find a guy that believed in that and showed me that trick, and I do believe there's really something to that. But as you're placing that bit in that horse's mouth and it's pulling this cheek back, and you're doing that, and you can see if those edges get sharp, that would give reason for that horse to throw its head and that. So anything we can do that we can discover to try to help with the comfort of the horse, we try to do like that. So that's called a bit seat, where we just round off the front edge of those molars right there. So, all right, I kind of answer questions out here. Anybody have any questions about teeth?
Kirsten says hi to Newt.
All right.
And Caitlin and Annabelle are saying hello from Omaha.
Very Hello, hello. Let's go inside and see some bridles and see some bits. Bits are gone. All right, everybody adjust to the light. Can you see in here okay?
Yep, we're good.
All right, so as you can see, our bridle rack is about empty. There should be a bridle. Normally there's a bridle on every single one of these. Each horse has its own bridle, just like there's normally saddles over here, which you can't tell, but normally there's a row of 10 saddles across the top up here and on each end and some behind you. And all the saddles and saddle racks are gone because we had to set up a mobile tack room over on a different property because of the whole, thing that's going on right now. We're not able to do rides here and stuff on Game and Park property. So
We do have 2 questions.
yeah.
Tim Davis asks, have you ever had a horse try to bite you?
Oh yes, many times. Yes. The latest one I had was I was walking down through the stalls and graining the horse, and this has been a couple years ago. And the horses get really nervous and anxious when you're coming down there graining them. They can hear you coming, they see it and smell it and everything else. And I'm scooping grain and putting it into the stalls, and I come up to her and I'm ready to grain her, and she just reached out and bit my shoulder. Luckily it was winter time. I had a heavy coat on. It did leave a mark. I think it was this shoulder actually, but it did leave a mark. It did kind of hurt, but surprised me more than anything because she kind of just grabbed me and pulled me over against it and let go. She wasn't being mean or anything like that. It was just nervous, I don't think she was, she's just reaching out and just whatever, like these kids do, and they're ornery and picking on each other all the time. But anyway, but she did bite me. She got a hold of my whole shoulder. She left teeth mark. Yeah, it does happen. The horses had just been brought in, and when they're out, that's what they're just like. They're like kids, like siblings that are picking on each other all the time, and they're poking and they're biting and they're kicking, and every chance they get, they're just gouging at each other, and so their defenses are up and their reactions are really heightened, and so that was kind of their mindset. So when we bring the horses in, we talk about a lot of times transferring that or transitioning that mindset to doing a reaction and thinking about what they're doing. So we do some different things we call sacking that horse out, where we'll lunge that horse and get the horse moving off of our cues. We'll have a flagging stick. It's simply a stick with a flag on the end of it that we can move around. That way, that horse, if they're out in the wild, and every time somebody comes by you, they just poke you. They just poke you. They just poke you. Look at that. Pretty soon, I don't even have to touch her, and she still flinches, right? So that's what they do when they're out there. Except when they do it, they're not being nice like this. They're kicking and they're biting and they're leaving marks because horses play rough. They play really rough. But if I eventually start moving around her like this without poking her, look at that. She quits flinching. Even if I look like I'm going to poke her. And that's what we're doing with them horses when we bring them in. We'll start sacking them out. We'll start moving around them without poking them. And finally, they'll start to trust us that, hey, we're going to move around them without hurting them. So thanks. That was fun.
And the next question leads us right into what we're going to talk about now. Sarah asks, what's a bridle?
All right, what's a bridle? Good question. So, right here, I'm going to pick this bridle because it has all the components on it that I'm going to talk about. This earpiece that we're taking off is called a nibble knot. This actually straps on the bridle, and it velcros underneath the muzzle, and it keeps that horse, yes, I should wear one of those, should I? No, yeah. It keeps them from snacking and eating when they shouldn't be. I should wear one of those every evening when I get home. So when you're out riding, you don't want the horse to stop and eat grass. And it's not because the grass is bad for them in any way at all. It's because they stop. moving, and they stop paying attention to us when they're paying attention to the grass and eating. Okay, so we like that. That'll keep them from being able to eat, snack along the trail. All right, so right here's the bit. Can you see this? How close do we need to be?
Right about there.
All right. So this bit has several pieces. You've got your upper shank, your lower shank, oh, there you go. Thank you. Right here in the center, you have this dog bone, which looks just like a dog bone, doesn't it? And this allows this to rest over their tongue. Picture this, their gum of the tooth, or their mouth lays right under here, or their jaw lays right under here, and their tongue lays right underneath this in the middle. This allows us to flex and move underneath or over that horse's mouth and over that tongue, so it lays in here comfortably. But when I pick up this rein and move it, this is the rein here, this is what we have in our hands. So when I pick up this and move this shank, it moves just this side. See how it doesn't even affect that side? And puts pressure against that horse's jaw, against that gum on just this side. And that's where we cue the horse to tell them what to do. When we want them to move backwards or sideways or stop or turn, all that different thing. Okay? So I like a bit here that rotates at the side, that flexes in the middle, preferably with the dog bone. Some of them will just meet in the middle and just V in the middle at one point. And almost all of my bits will have some sort of a copper inlay. This is copper right here that you can see. Some of the different bits, yep, this one has it too, actually has slits cut in the back side, and then they're filled in with copper. The copper is in there because that will create saliva in the horse's mouth and keep their mouth moist. Otherwise, having the bit in their mouth, the metal in their mouth, and keeping them open, and as they're working, that can dry out their mouth. When you do that, that top layer of the skin will get dry and brittle, kind of cracked like our skin on our hands, and it'll become more sensitive to where you can do damage to that. You want to keep that skin really soft and pliable and moist, okay? And that's what the copper does. Well, the copper will actually help them keep saliva in their mouth, okay? So this is a long shank. The length of this is about a 3-to-1. This bottom side is about 3 times as long as this top side, which means when you pick up and pry on this is pulling against the headstall, it's giving you 3 times the amount of pull against the gum right here. So when you're using something like this, you want to be kind of soft-handed on this here bit, okay? We have different ones like this. This one's, like I said, where it flexes just in the middle. The bottom shank isn't much longer than the top shank. This has a bit of a slide, which you call a gag bit. So this bit can hang lower in their mouth when they're resting, and as you pick this up, it actually slides this up closer, so it puts it farther up into their mouth. I like to use these on young horses where they learn to carry that bit down here where they need to be. If you use a solid, I don't have any of those up here. A solid bit, you have to, even a bit like this. Even a bit like this, there's no movement on that, and you have to keep this bit pulled up into their mouth all the way. And then see, if I would move this side, it moves the other side equally. There's no cue difference from side to side. When I move this side, it moves that side. So, which is why this bit's hanging up here and on display and not used. This isn't a bit that I would want to use on a horse. So, it's simply a display bit.
So Anne asks, she says, what kind of bridle? So are there different kinds of bridles?
There are lots of different styles of bridles. There are different kinds as far as you can have bitless bridles. See if I have like a Bozell here. I do not. I don't think I have one here handy. So yeah. So they do have different kinds of bridle. You can have a bridle that does not have a bit in it at all. It has a band that goes over the top of the nose. It still has the metal bars on it with the curb chain, so it creates pressure on the top of the nose and on the bottom of the jaw, but nothing inside the mouth. Where this here actually creates pressure down on the inside of the jaw, and it pries up against the curb chain on the bottom here underneath the jaw. It creates the pressure here. The bitless bridle will go over the top of the whole head, and it creates pressure on the top of the nose and the bottom. You can also have Moselle, which would be something similar to this. This is not actually one, but it would be more rigid, just like that. And this creates the pressure. The horse's nose comes clear through here, and when you pull this back, these actually create pressure against the bottom jaw bones right here, and the side-to-side pressure. This is rigid enough that it'll create pressure that way. Again, there's no piece that's actually in their mouth at all of these. So there's those different styles like this. You can also have, again, I have what I like to use. Everything that I use has the brow band like this. Both ears go up through here. You can have some that actually, there would be no brow band like this. One ear would stick through. Basically, it's a slit in here like this. It'd be a one-ear bridle, and that's all there is to it. It's just a slit in the leather, and it's opened up a little bit like that. Oh, well, there you go. This is a homemade one. This is one that I made, and it literally is a slit in the leather, so that it opens up like that. And the reason I have this one, like I said, the homemade one that I did, is because this is for Joe and Jim. I didn't have any bridles that were big enough for my draft horses, so I created one. Very simple, a leather strap for a head stall, put the slit in it for the ear. And the reason you do that is if you have one ear put through here, this won't slide down their neck, which is the same reason we have the brow band here. This keeps this from the head stall from just sliding down their neck. It keeps them in place right up behind their ears, okay?
They're wondering if you have any English tack.
I do not. I don't ride English at all, never have. Nope.
Okay.
So I'm going to go through all the pieces that create the bridle real quick, okay? So the whole thing, all these pieces together, is the bridle. The bridle was made up of the reins. This is this long, it would be kind of like a leash if you have a dog, or the lead rope when you're leading a horse. This is the reins. You use these when you're leading the horse, moving the horse around on the ground, and when you're riding the horse. This is what you're controlling the horse with, is the reins. And the reins tie directly to the bit, which is, of course, doing the communication to the horse. It's in the horse's mouth, okay? And the bit is held up into the horse's mouth with the head stall. This is the piece that loops up over the top of the head. The head stall is held up right behind the horse's ears with the brow band. And then you have this piece that buckles underneath the horse's throat, which is the throat latch. That keeps the bridle from being able to be rubbed off easily. When they're standing there and they rub against each other on the fence, it deters that bridle from being able to rub completely off. And I do say deters or helps. It doesn't actually keep them from being able to, typically. You don't ever buckle this up tight enough that they can't get it off altogether. For the most part, it'll keep them from being able to. But once in a while, if they're left rubbing on it long enough, they will find a way to get it up and over their head. Or they can sometimes. So, and then the one last piece here is the curb chain. This could be a curb chain or a chin strap. I'll show you why we're looking at this. One side is hooked on correctly on the back here, and the other side is not. It's hooked on the wrong spot right here. This is supposed to be hooked up on the top end of this shank. That way when you pull against this rein down here, this actually holds against the jaw on the bottom side, creating this leverage pressure right there, okay? So this is a curb chain. When there's a chain links in it, I call it a curb chain. Otherwise, do we have any that are not chains? Right here is one that's not a chain. There's no actual chain. It's just a chin strap. There's just a strap, but it's exact same purpose. Okay? And as you can see, we have numerous different styles. Some of those were smooth. This one's a twisted. It's hard for the horse to brace against that. You've got that twisted texture. They're not going to brace and push against that. That'll give you more of a feel. Oh man, we're out of time already. My goodness. So anyway, that's a quick introduction to bits, bridles, horse's mouth and teeth, and all that fun stuff. Okay? Any other questions we can answer?
Sarah would like to know how many horses you have.
We have 27 right now. big horses. And then we have a tiny little horse named Rue. And we have a pony named Peanut. But big horses, we have 27.
Cool.
Well, yeah, thanks everybody for coming. I'm glad to see you again. I look forward to seeing everybody next week. I don't know, we haven't even talked about what we're going to talk about next week. We ought to do something fun like hitching a
that would be,
horse,
yeah.
putting a harness on. We did show you an example of saddling a horse and mounting a horse bareback. These guys showed you some fine examples of that. So I think next week let's do something with draft horses. We'll put on a harness, hitch them to a wagon, take them for a drive. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So that'd be something to do. So thanks everybody for coming. As always, check us out. Look out all of our camps that we have coming up with Girl Scouts. Lots of camps coming up this summer. I'm excited about it. So please check all that out. Thank you, Kat, for coming out. Thanks, B. Good to see you again.
You too.
Thank you to Gentry and Elise. Did I say that backwards? Yeah, I did. Gentry and Elise for coming out and helping.
So before we end here today, I'd like to thank Dusty and his crew for everything he does for Girl Scouts. We have an amazing horseback riding program that is so much fun. Don't forget to sign up for horse camps this summer. We want to know what your favorite camp is, so let us know by posting on Facebook with the hashtags Girl Scouts at Home and GSSN. Tune in this afternoon at 2 p.m. to learn about being an entrepreneur with Erin. Thursday morning at 10 a.m., we will be hosting a painting lesson. We hope you enjoyed the program today, and just know that Girl Scouts is here for you for whatever you need. Reach out to your fellow Girl Scouts, talk to your troop leaders, and know that we are always going to be here. Be safe, wash your hands, and we will see you this afternoon.
Bye.
Bye.